All righty. Good evening, everybody. This is May 10th, 2021. My name is Mark McFadden with Onyx Equities Group. This is a meeting to update the members of Onyx Equities Group on transactions that we are in and also new prospective opportunities as well. As folks join the call, please mute yourself. But as always, if you have anything to add, any type of questions to ask, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask anything that you want an answer to. We have a guest speaker today, Chris Sullivan of Straight Path Ventures. They are one of the private equity companies that we go through for our private equity deals. I know that we have some new folks on the call, so I'll just kind of open up and give a little brief introduction about Onyx Equities Group, about what we do and how you may be able to join in on the fun. So Onyx Equities Group was licensed in February 2019. This is kind of like the second year of existence for us. We were first formed with the keen interest in serving the minority community and helping grow investments in that community, trying to help educate and bring opportunities where opportunities were few before. We have transitioned to a open forum, open platform. We are a transparent company. Our main focus current date is on private equities, which are privately held businesses before they go IPO and public traded companies on the exchanges. We have participated in transactions and deals such as Uber, Lyft, Pinterest, Airbnb, SpaceX, Impossible Foods, Flexport, a number of opportunities thus far. I believe some of the updates that we will get today and some of the other updates that I have to present to the group, we will start to see a liquidation events with some of these opportunities over the next year or so. So that is a good sign for us. Typically on like the private equity, we actually try to get into deals that are more late stage private equities. So kind of like a D and above round of funding raise. That way the time to market's anywhere from 12 to 36 months on the actual deals that we try to get into. So without kind of further ado, we have like a 40-minute time slot here for this meeting on Zoom. I'm going to turn it over to Chris Sullivan of Straight Path Ventures. He's going to introduce a couple of new opportunities that I also sent the email out to folks. That will also be posted on the portal, which is www.oeg-llc.com. We also have a YouTube channel, and I will put those both in the chat for folks to review and see as well. But I'll turn it over to Chris. He'll give us, our first, kind of like an update on the current opportunities that we are in with Straight Path, and then he will introduce the new opportunities that we can kind of get into in short term. All right, Chris.
All right, thanks, Mark. Good evening, everyone. So I'll touch base on the three positions we're holding right now: Impossible Foods, Eat Just, and Rubric. Impossible Foods, at this point, we're kind of just waiting for which vehicle they will be going public in, whether it's a SPAC or a traditional IPO. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of news that has came out within the last 30 days or so regarding their IPO, which is looking well over $10 billion. So pretty much we're just waiting on that SPAC or traditional IPO. Either vehicle we're very happy with. The SPAC is obviously a popular vehicle over the last year or so that we've seen, which is just a blank check company. And in terms of Impossible Foods, we like this vehicle for them to go public because it's a more affordable way. But on top of that, they get some proper guidance on how to kind of hit the public markets and be a publicly traded company. So they've really amped up their advertising in 2021. If you watch TV, I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of Impossible Foods commercials, which is just pretty much getting their brand awareness out there before their initial public offering. Eat Just, they have been growing rapidly as well. They were just named the World Changing Company of the Year. We own them at $20 per share price. And the next round has actually came in about 15 points higher at $35 over here. So it's nice to know, your investment is growing in the private market as well. They're also looking at a SPAC for their initial public offering, and you should be hearing some news about them fairly soon in the next coming months. And Rubric, finally, they're growing very aggressively as well. Earlier in this year, they started shifting around their board, adding a new CRO, and that's typically a sign of a company preparing to pretty much cross the T's, dot the I's, and get ready for their IPO as well. So we're anticipating, like Mark said, a very busy second half of this year in terms of IPOs all around. I think we're going to have, out of these three companies, we could definitely foresee some liquidity events in the coming months. So we're excited about that. Now, the two companies that I want to touch base on tonight is Kraken. I'm sorry, let me answer this question. So SPACs are, every SPAC has typically been different in terms of a lockup period. No two that I've done have been the same. So Impossible Foods in the private, last I had it was at 55. So we own it 35, so about 20 points higher. And in terms of SPACs, no two has been the same. So it all depends on the stipulations that the blank check company and the company agree upon. I have seen a lot of staggering releases. So that'll mean day one, you could be liquid for, let's say, 20-30% of your position. 60 days after that, another 20 to 30%, and kind of stagger it that way so they don't release all the shares at once, which benefits the company and the shareholders as well. So they're not just flooding the market with all the shares at once. Now, Kraken and Triller, those are the two companies I'd like to discuss tonight.
Hold on for 1 second, Chris. Just to try like to dial that back a little bit, so folks kind of understand that a SPAC, even though it's a blank check actual type of company, it follows the actual type of guidelines of like an IPO pretty closely in the fact that it goes through and tends to raise the actual type of funds needed for the company to go public. Correct?
Correct. Through the pipe, they'll raise funds for the company to go public, and they're very lucrative for the company because it's a cost-effective way. They skip a lot of those heavy underwriting fees. Mm-hmm. It gives them a faster way to market, and more importantly, board of directors within those blank check companies that have experience with bringing companies public.
Right, and then normally, folks, a SPAC will actually come out pre-IPO, and you are allowed to buy, those shares of in that type of SPAC, actual type of company, before they actually convert over to, you know, actual type of publicly.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So it's considered essentially a reverse merger,
Okay.
in a sense, and the SPAC will be listed and trading publicly right before the they'll list on the market. They'll find their company that they want to go acquire, and once they sign the deal, you could actually buy into the SPAC as well when they sign the deal, because you know that that's the company that they'll be going public with and merging with.
Hmm.
Okay. Um,
Is there any other type of questions about that, about the SPAC and about Impossible Foods, Eat Just, or Rubric, out of anyone? If you have questions, you can ask them, or you can also put them in the actual type of chat. But as Chris says, typically there is some type of holding pattern. It could be, you know, kind of like a staggered holding type of a period, or, you know, like a 6-month type of lockup period.
yeah, exactly. And yes, please ask any questions as I go. I tend to talk a little fast sometimes, so please stop me if there's any questions in between. So back to the companies we are talking about tonight, within Kraken and Triller. You might be familiar with the two. Kraken, I'm sure at this point everybody has heard of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and Dogecoin, and that's pretty much the new talk of the street. Kraken is one of the oldest Bitcoin exchanges in the world, and they're actually one of the first platform of their type to become their own bank. So it's a 24/7 kind of one-stop shop to buy, sell, trade cryptos, futures, and even global currencies. From a fundamental standpoint, the company is very strong. Over 8 million clients in over 176 countries. They have over 2,000 employees, and as of 2021, they are profitable, which is very rare in initial public offerings and private companies. So they're one of the top players and key players that has really seen a surge in demand as cryptocurrency as a whole market kind of blew past that $2 trillion mark. And this company, we are anticipating to go public and kind of mimic a Coinbase IPO, which just happened a couple of weeks ago, where they're looking to go via direct listing between a $50 and $60 billion valuation, which could put the stock, you know, north of $300 a share. Our current inventory is roughly around an $18 billion valuation, which is a share. So we're looking, you know, a 2 to 3x upside just based on the direct listing. And as we know, with direct listings, are free pretty much immediately, and there is no kind of hold there. So they're looking really to mimic a Coinbase IPO, which we just saw a couple weeks ago, and they had a very good performance. And I think we're going to see a lot of these crypto exchanges start listing and hitting the market within the next coming months. They're looking as early as 2022 for their direct listing, you know, first quarter, first half. But I would not be surprised to see them hit market a little earlier, you know, just based off of how well Coinbase has performed. The second company is Triller, and you guys might have heard of them. They are a social media company, very similar to TikTok, but they are a little more diverse than TikTok. So they were actually the platform that was responsible for hosting the Mike Tyson fight a couple months back. More recently, the Jake Paul fight, as well as a bunch of other pay-per-view events that they have been hosting. So one thing with Triller that we really, really like, and kind of the key point that we want to key in with them, is pretty much it comes down and boils down to valuation. So Triller, we own them at $13.50, which is about a $1.5 billion valuation. Late in the fourth quarter of 2020, they were in late stage negotiations to finalize a SPAC deal. They narrowed it down to 3 different companies. with a $3 to $6 billion valuation target. Now, one thing that was key in that kind of valuation there was whether they were able to go out there and acquire some of the companies that they were looking to acquire. They were in talks with companies and looking for a few acquisitions prior to the IPO. And then within the last 45 days, they have acquired 3 different companies. One of them is Versus, one of them is Amplify AI, and the third one is Fight. So Versus is Swiss Beats and Timberland's company. They are a music platform. Amplify AI is a digital engagement company. And Fight is a pay-per-view event streaming company. So all these companies adding into Triller's bottom line, I think we're going to be looking at a $5 to $6 billion valuation on that SPAC deal, which gives us a very good upside, 300 to 400%.
Hey, Chris, just real quickly, I know that you said the 3 companies, Versus, Fight, and there was one there in the middle.
Amplify AI. So I'll
Amplify. Okay, is that also in kind of like the documentation that you had sent me?
I believe it should be
Okay.
included. If not, I will shoot you over the article that had just recently come out that touches base on those 3 acquisitions.
Okay. Thank you.
They also just appointed a new CEO, Mahi De Silva, which was the CEO of Amplify AI. So they've been working with this company, Amplify AI, and partnered up with them for quite some time, which helps monetize their app and kind of use their digital engagements and all that. So they just went out there, acquired them, appointed their CEO to be Triller's CEO, where now Triller's old CEO could step up and kind of focus on the broader picture and the IPO.
Okay, so we had a question from Mark. How is Kraken different than Coinbase?
Yep. So they are very, very similar. If you kind of put the companies next to each other, there is not too many differences. Kraken is a little bit cheaper in the terms of their kind of trading commissions and whatnot. They offer a few more coins. Kraken is also, I think, known more a little bit more well known internationally. Coinbase does hold more Bitcoin than Kraken. They have more control of the Bitcoin, and they're more popular in the United States. But both of these companies are in the top 3 actually, crypto exchanges. So Coinbase, a little more popular in the United States. I think a little bit easier to use. Kraken targets more of the experienced crypto trader, but they have the #1 ranked customer service in the crypto exchange platform.
So for everyone on the call, especially those that are new on the call, the way this works with Onyx Equities Group and how we invest, we actually invest as a team. So for instance, if Kraken's going for $90 a share, is that correct, Chris?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Then typically companies like Straight Path will have a allotment size, a minimum allotment size or buy-in that folks like us can kind of come into play. So Chris, is there, kind of like a minimum allotment size for this?
Yeah. So Kraken will be 250 shares, which is 22.5, and Triller will be 2,000 shares.
Okay. And like the 2,000 shares for Triller comes to?
So that's 27, I'm sorry.
So 27 for the actual type of Kraken, or?
For the Triller.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for the individual investments. But as you know, since you guys do have the account, and if you're trading multiple companies, we can kind of, vary and add in one order,
Yep,
and adjust that.
absolutely. So folks, for Kraken, we need kind of like a minimum buy of 23K, let's just say. And for the actual type of Triller, a minimum buy of 27K. Okay, so that would be our min order buys to come in as a group into either one of those. So we have another question, Chris, about what is, the actual type of turnaround time for both?
Yep. So Kraken is looking, as of right now, direct listing. 2022 is the target within that first half. Could be sooner, but that's what we know as of now. So that's, I would anticipate, probably first half of 2022, where it's a direct listing. So you'll be liquid pretty much as soon as they trade. Triller is looking to finalize their SPAC deal by year's end. So I wouldn't be surprised to see upcoming in this third quarter, now that they've gotten these acquisitions out of the way, they sign a SPAC deal and they start trading sometime this year. So we're looking, within the next 6 to 12 months, liquidity events for both of these companies is what we're anticipating.
Okay. And
Um,
folks, I see some questions in here about our time to get in. Like always, with any of these type of private equity deals, time is always of the essence. Now, I did have a talk with Chris the other day prior to this Zoom call. These are fresh. They do have a fair amount of shares in-house already, but that doesn't mean we can delay kind of making a move on them and those shares are not gone. So right now it's not oversubscribed, Chris, right?
Correct. So we're good for both of the offerings.
Okay. But I would say we need to, be trying to get everybody's funds into their accounts and sign, like the paperwork and get the funds over to Straight Path. Let's say by today is Monday, May 10th. Let's give it to end of week, folks.
Yep, just like Mark touched on, with the private equity, it's really, so the way our fund works is we just are able to offer what we have in house. So we're not working off of any contracts. It's whatever in inventory. And then when we run out and we go out there, typically speaking, with a lot of these companies, as they do sign more contracts, or some news comes out, the price will continue to creep up and creep up higher and higher, as we get closer to the IPO. The private market has been very popular and very desired, because of how well a lot of the doing. So shares get tougher to acquire, and there's only limited shares out there for a lot of these companies.
Correct. Let me go over just a couple of other quick updates while we have everybody here on the line. So as a group, on Executives Group, we're also into Airbnb. Everybody knows Airbnb is doing pretty well on, like the public market trade. It should be coming off of like the 6-month lockup period in and around June 2021. That was with Forte, so they kind of handled their type of liquidation differently, but they're still undecided is if they're going to liquidate and hand out cash after like a lockup period or liquidate and give out the funds. So as it gets closer to June, we should get some answer on a definitive approach of how that fund is going to try to liquidate. Okay. SpaceX, we also got into SpaceX. We got in a little bit over $200 a share. Right now it's trading in kind of like the secondary market at around $400 a share. So that's, kind of like a 2x times your investment there. We got into the actual type of 23andMe. That's right now trading in a SPAC to Virgin Galactic. The SPAC is VGAC. It's trading around about $10 a share. We got in about $9.75, so it's on par right now. We also did a round of Impossible Foods with Forte. We got in around about $29.90 a share, and it's trading now on like the secondary market anywhere between $37 and $42 a share on like the secondary. And then we also got into Flexport as well, and we got in around $8.40 a share, and it's now trading on the secondary market around $13.50. They just hired a new CFO, and they are making arrangements to possibly go public sometime next year. So those are some other updates as well. Cash versus fund as in shares. Yes, Wellington. So yeah, a liquidation event can happen as either the fund tends to try like to cash out and give everybody cash, or the fund liquidates and give everybody shares. Okay. All right. Anything else anybody wanted to bring to like the forefront? So just to recap, we got 2 opportunities. We are looking to try to fund towards the end of the week to have all our funds in-house, so I can go to Chris and say, hey, Chris, send me the actual type of paperwork for the actual type of Kraken or the actual type of Triller. And then we'll have our funds to go ahead and transfer over. Mark, you got a question. Is there a lockup period? Always 6 months? Traditionally, most of like the lockup periods is 6 months. Chris, you have anything else to add about that?
Yeah, so for traditional IPOs, it's a max of 6 months. SPACs, like I said, could vary, could be staggering, which could take as far as 10 months, depending on the stagger. And direct listing is liquid pretty much day one, unless they did what Palantir did, where they did, partial direct listing and then partial, 180-day lockup.
Mm-hmm. All of the information on Kraken and Triller, I sent out over email to those that had replied yes to this meeting, or even maybe. They'll also be on the portal, and I'm putting the address to the portal in the chat right now. So everybody who is a current member of Onyx Equities Group should have access to the portal. Tyrone, what are the fees for investing in these opportunities? So through Straight Path, and Chris, I'll let you answer that. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So through the fund, it is a carried interest on the back end profits. So it's 20% of the profits only. The initial principal is not touched. So, let's just use round numbers. You guys invested 100,000 and turned it to 200,000 at the time of the liquidation event. You guys would receive 180,000, and the fund takes 20,000 in the form of shares.
Gotcha. So this was a huge change of pace for us. As many of you know, with Forte, they took a percentage on the front end. They also took a percentage on the back end. This is no percentage on the front end. We still have, like a 2% fee to CBMA, but there's no percentage outside of that on like the front end, and just kind of like the 20% on the back end profits, as Chris said. Anything else from anybody? All right, folks. Well, if there is nothing else, as always, feel free to email us. I'll put the email address here as well. And if there's any questions, email me and I will get in touch with Chris, and Chris will provide an answer back to us. And thanks everyone for actually coming onto the call. This has been another presentation by Onyx Equities Group.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
No problem. Thanks for coming. See everyone later.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks,
No problem.
Mark.
Thank you. This is also going to be up on the YouTube channel as well, in case anybody wants to go back and review it. Thank you.